Working in video production for 15 years as a freelancer and running my own video production company, I saw a ton of different video production companies go out of service in that last 15 years. And most of them went out of business for very avoidable reasons. So I kind of put together a list of 7 different reasons why video production companies go out of business. And this is also related to all small businesses in a way. My examples are specific to video production because that's the world I lived in. But when I looked at the SBA website, they said that around 20% of all small businesses don't even make it 1 year, and only half make it 5 years. And when they look at small businesses in the course of 10 years, only 1 out of 3 even made it to that point. But the failure rate's even higher in video production, or people just turn back into becoming freelancers and running a video production company, but really just for themselves. If it's your first time on this channel, my name is Saj and I run a video production company here in Chicago. And my goal with this channel is not only to teach you filmmaking, but I want to also teach you the business side of filmmaking, and specifically starting and growing a video production company with your filmmaking skills that you may learn here on YouTube. I learned nothing in film school 15 years ago covering the business side of video production, and this whole time I had to figure everything out on my own as well. I don't see much of this type of content on YouTube, so that's one of my big focus with this channel. So if that sounds like something you could benefit from, consider subscribing, and I post these type of videos every single week. The number one reason why most video production companies go out of business is because they don't have a system to get repeatable business. Most of the time, from what I've seen with video production and what I had to do early on, especially in freelancing too, every single job came because of a referral from another job. So it was kind of a word of mouth. A lot of times I ask someone, how do you get clients? And they say, oh, word of mouth. Well, that's great, but that doesn't scale. And if the word of mouth somehow dries up, you're out of business, right? So you can't just rely on word of mouth. By the systems that I'm talking about, I typically teach marketing and advertising type of platforms and systems that could help you get clients in a repeatable way. So in the B2B world, the business to business world of video production, things like LinkedIn, Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, those are really powerful platforms, and I do cover those in other videos. But if you don't have a repeatable way to get clients, a system that you could turn on and turn off, really based on marketing and advertising, your business could shut down anytime. The second reason is trying to do everything yourself and not hiring help when you need to hire help. And I did create another video talking about when to hire people. But this is basically what happens because you want to maximize profit, at least if you came up like I did, from a freelance background into running a video production company, or you're still a freelancer. Basically, the mindset of a freelancer and a lot of small business owners is maximizing profit. So a lot of times, if you're on every job, if you do as much of a job as possible, you make more profit. It's pretty obvious, right? So if you handle the client and then you do the production and you're involved in post-production and do the editing yourself, and you deliver the video to the client, then maybe you help them run ads with that video, and you do all of that yourself, there is a good chance you're going to go out of business or just revert back to becoming a freelancer. A lot of people just won't let go any one of those elements, right? They want to do as much of it as they can. Because think about it this way. Let's say I was to send someone else to go on a shoot for me, and I was going to pay that person $600, $700, $800 as a DP, for example. Well, that's $800 less that I'm making on that project. I could just go on that project. Well, this is very limited thinking. This is basically how freelancers think. And I've thought this for a long time too, and it's hard to send people in your place. But that's the only way to make a real video production company, or really any company. You can't do every single thing yourself. At some point, you have to outsource. And that's a very common way I've seen people go out of business because they just got so overloaded with work and they couldn't handle it. And then basically things fall apart from there. Number 3 is the kind of the opposite effect to that. It's scaling too quickly. And I've seen this mostly with office space and with video production equipment. I've seen people buy 6 figures of video production equipment that they have no reason to buy. They don't have a job that is requiring that. They don't have anything coming up actually, but they think if they get that gear or that camera or that office, that work will come. And that's never the case. And it's typically a bad idea to scale before you have a reason to scale. So it's a little bit tricky because the previous one is you do everything yourself and you never scale. This one is you just say, I'm gonna run a big video production company. I'm gonna get a 4,000 square foot office. I'm gonna hire 5 people, and you just have a $5,000 project waiting for you and nothing else down the pipe. So don't ignore scaling, definitely scale, but only scale when you need to scale. So this is specific. I've seen a lot of people scale too quickly and go out of business. Probably one of the most common reasons why video production companies specifically go out of business, by hiring too fast, by getting a big office, or spending way too much on video equipment that they just don't need. Number 4 is taking on too many projects at the same time. Especially when you figure out marketing, there is a point where a lot of jobs may come your way. And this happened to me early on, and I made a mistake of taking too many of them. And what happens is when you take on too many projects and you don't tell prospective clients that you can't take on a job right now, you may basically cross deadlines and have a hard time and at some point drop a ball with one of those clients. The problem is when that happens, that client could become a long-term client, but because you had too many jobs, you didn't give them the attention that they deserved, and you lost that client. That client could have been a 6-7 figure client for the next 10 years, but you messed up on the first $10,000 job because you had 5 of those on your plate. Now, that's usually not a bad problem, but there is a fine point, especially when you first grow. Some video production I've seen take on too many projects at once. I've seen with freelancers do this all the time. Don't tackle too many projects if you can't scale and get help. So it is completely okay to tell some prospective clients that you could take on their job in 2 weeks or 3 weeks and not today. Now, number 5 is probably the thing I'm the guilty of the most myself, and that's trying to juggle something completely different than your video production company, right? Right now, I have a whole YouTube business that I run that's sort of not connected to my video production company, really outside of this channel. I have other channels and I have a team, and I'm juggling both. And a lot of times that leads to a burnout because you're taking on too much. Now, the most common thing though I've seen is people trying to run a video production company and they have a regular job not related to video. That is a very common reason for burnout and not putting enough attention towards video production and that company. So my other company, creating YouTube content with a team, that actually has video elements built into it, and it could actually lead into my video production business. I've tried to kind of connect the two. It's still probably not the best idea, but I kind of can't let go of both at this moment. So I'm doing both at this moment. But really taking your time and dividing it between many things, especially a full-time job, could really be bad and hurt a video production business. Number 6 is not charging enough for your service. Now, a lot of businesses, especially about 7-8 years ago that I saw go out of business, they basically were some sort of a program where you could get a video done for $1,500 or $2,000. And those didn't even last 2 years. Every single time I saw a video production company start and compete on price or start as the lowest price entry into the market, at least in Chicago where I'm at, they no longer exist. I didn't even see any that lasted even 3 years. The problem is because it takes money to make money, right? You need to run ads, you need to have a marketing department or a marketing plan, you need to have a team so you could fulfill those service orders that come in for different video production services. If you're doing it by yourself at a low rate, bigger production companies could destroy you without spending you on advertising and getting clients and growing and delivering better products. The whole production just ends up being better, right, if you could charge more. I'm making a video now kind of comparing a $1,500 marketing video and a $15,000 marketing video and how the deliverable could be completely different for the client. It's still a marketing video, but they're a world apart. So if you can become the premium leader or someone that charges on the high end, you're really gonna outlast everyone else. The premium, the boutique, the biggest production companies in Chicago are the ones that charge the highest prices for the last 15 years. Number 7 is sort of related to this, but it's not delivering exceptional value with your video production. Because if you don't do that, what ends up happening is you have to always chase your next job. I know plenty of freelancers and I know some video production companies here in Chicago that survive, barely survive, by always getting a new client because they just don't deliver a high enough quality content or video or product to a client to keep them. I have clients now that I've had since the first month of opening my video production company. I've had freelance clients from 10 years ago that I now make videos for their company. And because of that, I'm not always chasing to get the next video production client, right? They're kind of built in to my system from referrals. Again, I talked about in the beginning, not just relying on that, but referrals could be huge because you could basically spend nothing and still continue to work with those clients. The systems I explained in the beginning have to be turned on and off by marketing and ad dollars spent into them. These kind of things don't, right? Repeat business from the same client or referral clients doesn't cost you any money. But to get those, you have to deliver exceptional product. That's why I update my equipment when I need to. That's why I make sure I get more help when I need to and scale when I need to, so no client feels left out. And every single time I work with a client, they walk away feeling satisfied and usually believe I delivered far more than what they paid for. And lastly, the story I wanted to tell you, and the common reason I've seen video production companies go out of business, is they rely way too much on one big client. And the story is basically, when I was first starting out, there was a company that I was working with. And they were, as a freelancer, they were doing about $1.5 million a year. And they were doing just fine. What ended up happening is they got a massive client that completely changed their business. And then they went from $1.5 million close to $8 million a year. But that 6.5 extra was coming from this one client, this one big project, basically a TV project. Well, that's great. If you land a project like that, it's almost impossible to turn it down. Why would you turn it down? But what ended up happening is the few years that they were working with this client, they got too comfortable and they didn't scale the other parts of the business enough. And they had to hire a lot of people, scale way too fast, and then this client disappeared. They basically pulled a rug under them, and no matter what they did with legal things, this client was just not coming back. And because of this, the company went bankrupt. And there was nothing that you could do about it when something like that happens. So if you are right now relying on a big client, even as a freelancer, if you're doing all your freelance work for 1 or 2 different people or companies, it's always a smart move to try to diversify where your money is coming from, right? Millionaires do this all the time, right? They have a bunch of different revenue sources. But in the world of video production, relying on one client, and if that client disappears, that could really be bad. So if you're making 80% or more from one source, one client, or even 2 clients, I definitely recommend figuring out marketing, figure out advertising, and try to diversify your income outside of that client. That could save you in the long run. And I'm putting together an entire course walking you through step by step on how to start and how to grow a successful video production company. So if you're learning film skills, or you feel like you're a good freelancer and you want to take those skills and run your own company, make sure you sign up to that email list. As soon as the course is released, I will notify you via email, and I'll send you more free helpful tips as well. Thanks so much for all your time, and I'll catch you on the next video.